Cliches are awful, says everyone. They're lazy, they stifle creativity, and at the end of the day, they prevent the flower of originality from blooming.
Even the word cliché is irritating, sounding like some pedantic snob getting uppity at the pronunciation of his surname.
You must be Professor Clich.
It's cliché.
Clichés aren't just linguistic either, they're written into the visual language of the media we consume every day. For example, how many times have you been addressed by someone slowly ambling towards the camera, gesticulating quite unnaturally, pausing for an inordinate amount of time before each sentence, and then afterwards, casually walking out of shot? Then there are video game clichés, which are a different sort of beast. Gameplay mechanics you encounter so often you no longer need them explained by any type of tutorial. And the reason, I think, is because they work. So here are 8 video game clichés we just can't live without, starting with one so enduring it's probably grown virtual roots into the core of cyberspace: exploding barrels. Exploding barrels are so cliched that even the very act of putting them in a list of clichés is in itself a cliché.
Clichception.
Forcing 2 words together even though they sound rubbish. Another cliché. Exploding barrels are wonderful fun though, aren't they? On a base level it's because they blow up and look pretty and send enemies flying, but the real satisfaction comes from the false sense of accomplishment you'll feel at having outwitted a piece of computer programming that's been deliberately coded to stand right next to the bloody things during a gunfight. Yeah, you weren't prepared for that, were you? Tactical genius. Please, games, never stop using exploding barrels. They make me feel way more cleverer than what I actually is.
Nath, could you sign off my holiday, please?
David, yeah, of course I can, David. The only trouble is I'm a bit thirsty, so before I can do that, I'm going to need you to make me some coffee.
Right. You haven't seen any coffee, have you, Rob?
I've just drunk the last of it, actually. You might have to go upstairs and ask Tom to buy some more.
So basically I've got to go on a fetch quest.
Yes, a lovely, wholesome fetch quest. They only ever dawn on you when you're balls deep in some fantasy swamp, half a world away from the sword you're after, catching magic tadpoles. RPGs are the prime offenders here, most recently No Kuni, but then faffing about running errands for people instead of endlessly chasing after Mr. No-Face McDarklord can sometimes be quite relaxing and therapeutic. Plus it gives you a chance to see the world and talk to people you wouldn't otherwise meet. I mean, if it wasn't for fetch quests, you wouldn't have seen our lovely kitchen area, would you? And Nath wouldn't have had any lines at all, giving him no break from his day job, which at the moment is to stare at BungieNet all day, counting down the hours until he can go home and farm for more engrams, which ironically is only one down the food chain from fetch quests anyway. Next up, we've got snow levels, video games get out of jail free card. For everything's been brown up until now, we need to add some variety while still not breaking the illusion of a coherent world. Can it snow on hostile alien planets? It can now! Snow or ice levels are also a handy indicator of increased difficulty. Normally they appear just after the halfway hump. That bit where the game says to you, okay, you've learned all my systems, now master them in this harsh new environment, or this Yeti will rip off your +10 gauntlets and stuff them down your throat. That, or you can buy the obligatory fire weapon that all the stores in the local vicinity will now miraculously stock. We need snow levels though, conquering their frigid hurdles is incredibly satisfying, plus they always look really, really pretty, don't they?
Well, that was another excellent interview, Mr. Pearson. Thank you very much for that. And at this point, I'd normally ask you what your weaknesses are, but this time I see you've got them emblazoned across your chest, which is very helpful.
This is essentially what bosses have been doing since time immemorial. In they come with their massive bulk and their roaring and their attack patterns and their glowing hotspots, letting you know you'll probably lose a couple of times, but at least you can hit him where it hurts. Some games are obvious with this. In Dead Space 2 you fight what is essentially a bulbous weak spot with spikes, while others, like the Killzone series, are more subtle, turning the Helghast weak points into something iconic and scary, although really those glowing eyes are just so you can see them in the dark. Imagine a game where you didn't know how to fight the boss and they didn't have big strobing signposts plastered across them saying, "Put your bullets here." Yeah, it would be called Dark Souls and it would be hard as shit. Are glowing weak spots a bit lame? Of course they are, but if you took them away, I for one would be completely screwed. And ultimately they're just like waypoints, but on a thing instead of an area. That's my excuse anyway.
This is amazing, and it's only the start of the game.
Wait for it, wait for it. There we go, the old start out really powerful and then lose all your abilities trick. So irritating, like offering you a bite of Argentinian steak and then whipping it away in exchange for a bowl of watercress or something.
This happens quite a lot in sequels, and I guess is a way to overcome the narrative discrepancies that come with being really awesome and powerful at the end of one game and then having to start again in another.
I mean, it would be rubbish if all the way through Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2, Gabriel was really powerful and could fight those hulking robot things instead of the much more interesting mechanic of turning into a rat and hiding. Alright, this sucks, we can live without this cliche, take it off the list.
Friends are good, aren't they? You can sit with them, you can invite them to stuff.
You can pull them up walls in one of my favourite gaming cliches, the gimme a boost mechanic. That's in everything from The Last of Us to Ico, which is as far back as I can remember it. In Ico it was far more dainty, however. Nowadays it's all about showing muscles and making really loud grunty noises. Mostly it's there to instill a sense of teamwork, especially in co-op adventures like Army of Two, for instance. It's an obvious physical reminder that you would not be able to progress in this game without the help of your buddy.
And it enhances your bond with the characters on screen. A true sign of friendship. Right then, should we get some lunch?
Bros! Ooh, look, it's Drive Club. What a very good looking game. Look at the road and the scenery. It's lacking something though, isn't it? A little spark. A little bit of hello.
Hello, lens flare, a visual stamp that forms the basis of all graphical showing off, and since the likes of Battlefield 3 and the more recent Need for Speed titles, has become less of a cliche and more of an epidemic.
Everyone and his mum is doing lens flare, including No Kuni, which looks ridiculously pretty anyway, but whatever, there it is with the sun on it. Look at Destiny, look at Battlefield 4, look at Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes. Yep, chalk it up, Dave. Lens flare is basically developers letting us know that, hey, we've put a lot of bloody effort into making this game look awesome. The least you can do is stop for a few seconds and slowly pan the camera around, okay?
I put lens flare on this and instantly I'm far more attractive, see? I'm checking, I just took my glasses off, but the point still stands. Games, keep doing lens flare.
The last cliche on our list has become so prevalent in modern gaming that no one questions the logic of it anymore, and that is most protagonists' ability to see enemies through walls, or cheat vision as I'm going to call it from here on in.
They always call it something a bit different though, don't they, to try and bat away the questions of how a seemingly normal person can, just by concentrating a little bit, suddenly develop X-ray vision.
Ezio has eagle vision because, as we all know, eagles can see through solid objects. It's how they catch rabbits. Batman has detective vision tucked inside his techno wizard of a cowl. Corvo from Dishonored can see everything because he's got a special mask and a talking heart. And Big Boss can do it because,
You can airlift a horse in Metal Gear Solid 5, let's just leave it.
I am very grateful for cheat vision, however. It's revolutionised how stealth works in games and encourages careful planning, patience and thorough reconnaissance of an area, as opposed to creeping about like an actual person would have to. Besides, you can usually turn it off, so shut up.
So there's my 8 cliches we just can't live without, which is actually 7 because the ability loss thing is properly rubbish. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more every Friday afternoon and like it if you liked it.